Welcome to our EOG University training. We're so happy to have you guys join us. Thank you for taking the time. We definitely appreciate it. You guys know, for most of you, we're your affiliated escrow company. I know there's a couple of you on here that may not be associated, but we just want to say thank you guys so much for jumping on our call today. We are here to, obviously help you guys along this ever-changing landscape of our real estate industry. As your escrow company, we are here to assist you. Our escrow officers are amazing. We're one of the largest independent escrow companies. We've got 13 offices in 5 counties. Our escrow officers, like I said, are amazing. They have years of experience. They're very good at what they do. Besides providing excellent service, we're about networking and creating that relationship so that you guys have trust and can see the value that we provide to you. We also have some excellent services. We cover your HOA fees up front. We offer free EOG training. We give you guys access to Altos market reports, list reports, and more. So for anybody that I work with, thank you for jumping on. It doesn't look like Michael or Tom were able to make it, but they also are here to help you. So if you guys need any assistance, don't hesitate to reach out to one of the 3 of us. We're always here to help you guys, and we're super excited at our speakers today. And thank you, Justin, our amazing trainer who puts this all together for us every week. So thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure, guys. And I know we're usually on Mondays, but I think we're going to Wednesdays because it might be a little bit easier for your schedules to jump on and learn something new. And I'm just super excited for today's session with our friends Leslie and Sabina with Movement Mortgage, because as you know, so many changes could possibly are ahead of us in our industry with the NAR settlement. And I thought it would be a great idea to hear from a lender's perspective, see what they're seeing on their end, how it could possibly affect loan programs and just that whole department within our industry. So again, Leslie and Sabina, thank you so much for joining us today. I'll monitor the chat box. So if you guys have questions as we go through this, throw it in the chat box and we'll make sure those get answered. But I don't want to waste any more time. Without further ado, let's jump in, guys.
Thank you. Hi. So today we're going to discuss the NAR settlement and adapting to the future of real estate. My name is Leslie O'Neill. I work with Movement Mortgage. I've been with Movement for the last 12 years. I was born and raised in New Orleans and started in the mortgage industry right after college. So I've been in the mortgage industry for about 21 years now. And here's Sabina.
Hi, I'm in California for the last 6 years. Born and raised in Chicago. I started in the mortgage industry in Chicago 9 years ago, right after college too. And I've been at Movement Mortgage now for 2 years.
Okay, so our goal for today, one is we're going to navigate industry changes together. The recent NAR settlement represents a landmark shift in the real estate industry. By hosting this event, I hope to bring greater understanding and collaboration. Number 2, we're going to empower with knowledge. My hope is that after today, you feel empowered to make informed decisions, adapt, and feel confident about the future. Number 3, we're going to hopefully strengthen relationships. This event is an opportunity to reinforce and build connections. Dialogue and cooperation is more important than ever. By coming together to discuss and understand these changes, we can identify new opportunities for collaboration, streamline the transaction process, and enhance the overall home buying and selling experience for our clients.
So here's our agenda for the day. NAR settlement overview, adapting to the new rules, buyer agency, your value that you're bringing to your buyers, and then going from confused to confident, and then leveraging your lender to help you navigate these times.
Mindset plays a huge role in shaping our life. Here are some examples of growth versus fixed mindset. Let's do this one. Sorry.
Okay, so let's briefly review the key points of the NAR settlement and what we know now. Keep in mind the terms of the settlement are not finalized yet and things could change, but the proposed date for these changes are likely to go into effect mid-July of this year.
Here are the primary changes within the NAR settlement. Cooperative compensation. NAR has agreed to put in place a new rule prohibiting offers of compensation on the MLS. Number 2, buyer agency agreement. MLS participants must enter into buyer broker agreements to ensure home buyers know what their agent will charge them for their services. Number 3, disclosures. Agents must disclose in listing agreements, buyer representation agreements, and pre-closing disclosures that the broker commissions are not set by law and are fully negotiable.
So this next slide, there's a link to the frequently asked questions from NAR about the settlement. And that's kind of what we're going to go over here. And then we'll get to more of that. Let's take a closer look at the cooperative compensation. So offers of compensation continue to be an option for consumers. They can pursue off MLS through negotiation and consultation through real estate professionals. The types of compensation available for buyer brokers can take multiple forms. It depends on the broker consumer negotiations, and it's including, but not limited to, fixed fee commission paid directly by the consumers, concessions from the sellers, and a portion of the listing broker's compensation.
Here's the key takeaway. Sellers can offer buyer concessions. The concessions can be used to compensate the buyer's agent. The key is that the amount of compensation cannot be stated in the MLS. This means that each transaction will require individual negotiation regarding commissions paid to the buyer's agent.
Okay. Pop quiz. Under the new rules, can I include cooperative compensation terms on a purchase contract?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just can't add the compensation terms in the MLS.
Here's another question. If the seller does not offer cooperative compensation, can the buyer offer a % above agreed upon price and have the seller credit the buyer said overage to pay the buyer's agent fee? Of course. What is this called? A seller concession. Of course, the appraisal has to meet the value. So you would want to check with your lender on that when you are doing your consultation.
Okay, another big change is around buyer agency or buyer broker agreements. So here are the specifics as we know them currently for buyer agency agreements. You must use a buyer representation agreement before showing a home, and it must contain these 3 things: the amount or rate of compensation that you are requesting. 2, compensation must be written into the agreement as a percentage or dollar amount and cannot be open-ended. It cannot say whatever amount the seller is offering the buyer. And 3, you cannot receive compensation for broker services from any source for more than the amount or rate agreed to in your buyer representation agreement. Each state and MLS will have their own agreements for use, of course.
Okay, so now that we've got that behind us, let's talk about adapting to the new rules. Allow me to share a formula that may be helpful. E plus R equals O. Has anyone seen this before?
No.
Event plus response equals outcome. In other words, it's not what happens, it's how you respond that matters. Can we control NAR? Can we control the media? What can we control? How we respond, what we do is, are you with me on this? So basically, like with lenders, we had to go through this in 2008, 2009 with TRID and with the Dodd-Frank rule. And, it was a big, people thought it was going to be, a horrible thing. And the lenders that, came through on the other side, like, we're all, still thriving. So things like this can happen, and, the agents and lenders that adapt to it, and you'll still be successful on the other end.
So what's the real issue? Fear. We've got fear of change, the unknown, the impact to your income, and losing control. So here's what not to do. Don't complain. This is not the time to air out all of your feelings about NAR. 2, don't argue with people about the value of agents or anything else for that matter, especially online. I know a lot of forums on Facebook, Reddit, Instagram. They're going very, very crazy, and a lot of people are getting defensive, but use that as an opportunity to show your value instead of getting defensive. Be that positive beam of, I'm glad you asked. Actually, here's this and this. And then 3, don't disappear. This is not the time to disappear or wait until July. My suggestion is to get in front of this now and start having those conversations now. Start practicing.
What to do? Learn and embrace the new rules so you feel confident in talking about them. 2, it's time to level up your skills, sales skills, scripting, objection handling, negotiating, marketing, and more. Number 3, engage, have conversations with your past clients, sphere and on social media. This is the time to show up and demonstrate your value.
All right, so let's talk about how to articulate our value to buyers. What is your value to buyers? I'd love for a few people to participate in the chat and, you know, give your suggestions. What is your current value to buyers? Is it finding homes, showing homes, submitting offers, negotiating? Those are all part of it. And the real answer is it depends on the buyer, right? Different buyers have different needs and therefore value different things. Let me see, let me check the chat. Educating the client, knowledge, getting offers accepted, definitely. Yeah, give me one second. So who here already uses a written buyer agreement? I know it varies in some states. I know it's not required in California, but who here uses them currently?
Are you asking about the BRBC?
Yeah, the buyer broker agreement. So according to NAR, only 35% of buyers had a written agreement. And that, of course, will be changing in July. It'll be 100%.
Our agents have to now. Just the agents are supposed to be having some.
What are they saying?
I don't know. Okay.
Can we be honest? For some agents, this may be a hard pill to swallow, but your primary value is not finding homes for sale, sending listing updates, showing homes. These are nice to have services, but not the primary value you offer. At least I hope not. What are the primary ways clients receive value from you?
Helping clients find the right home for them available is valuable. Helping clients understand the process and representing their interest in a transaction are all valuable. Negotiating and representation is valuable. So here's some data from the NAR Profile of Home Buyers Trends report. If you take a look at it, you'll see that most buyers agree that their agents help them understand the process. They helped point out property issues. They helped provide a list of service providers like the inspector. They offered them a lot of knowledge about the process, especially first-time home buyers. They're not really familiar with the process. Of course, negotiation, representation, they save them time and money. And then this is where you can start with articulating your value to buyers. Most buyers, right, go to the next one.
Right.
As you know, you'll soon be required to have a buyer broker agency agreement with buyers before you show them homes. And here's why this is good for both you and your clients. Both you and your buyer are aligned on the same terms, services, and compensation. It provides full transparency, and it's going to be a good thing. So number one, alignment is the client and the buyer's agent enter into agreement of understanding and terms. Services, buyer's agent will perform specific sets of services in representing the buyer. And compensation, buyer's agents agree to receive a predetermined compensation payment in exchange for services rendered and agreed upon.
Good news, people don't have an objection to agent compensation per se. Here's a survey of 1,000 would-be home buyers who were aware of the NAR lawsuit. Over 20% of respondents would pay at least the equivalent of 2.5% commission, and another 37% would pay the equivalent of 2%. The key takeaway, those who can both articulate and deliver value will continue to do well.
So in this survey, they were asked, if you were buying a home today and your budget was $500,000, how much would you be willing to pay for the services of a real estate agent to guide you through the process? And most people said about $10,000. Most people agreed that they should be paid about 2.5% or 2% in commissions. So it's not that buyers don't think that buyer's agents shouldn't be compensated. It's just about having those conversations and that transparency about what that compensation is going to look like ahead of time.
So here are some action steps. What to do now: create a buyer presentation, document your process, and take ownership. So create a high impact buyer presentation that articulates your value. It may be time to revamp your listing presentation as well. Document your process so prospects are clear on the services you offer. Number 3, take ownership of your business. Have a business plan. Track and measure your activities.
And here's one idea you can implement immediately. Call or text your past clients, sphere of influence, and warm leads. Just stay ahead of it. Give them a call or give them a text, a simple text where, hey, Leslie, it's Sabina. Do you have 2 minutes for a quick business related call? And then when you do get on the call, you can say, you may have seen some news regarding the NAR and some recent changes. Just calling to see what you may have heard and what questions you may have that I can help with. That way you stay ahead of it. And the goal here is to show up and demonstrate that you are the go-to person for your real estate related information. Have the conversations.
Here's a few questions you may want to add to your initial buyer consultation. What you understand about all your options when choosing a real estate agent to represent you. Can you tell me what you know or understand about what a real estate agent does and how we get compensated for our service? I love the opportunity to explain your options and provide representation for you during the process of finding and buying a home.
And then here's a sample dialogue that you can use. And of course, you can adjust these to your styles. These are just examples, but setting the expectations with your seller about this kind of stuff. So you can say things like, during our discussion today, I want to address a recent change that affects how buyer agent compensation is managed. It's important for you to understand these changes as they offer more flexibility and options for us during the sale of your home. Traditionally, when listing a property, we would agree up front on a fee for our services and what portion would go towards the buyer's agent commission. However, due to recent updates from the National Association of Realtors, this process is evolving. Now the decision on how much to offer a buyer's agent in terms of compensation is a little bit more flexible. Would you like for me to explain your options? So having these conversations up front at the listing appointment, looking out for your fellow realtors, and just keeping that in line.
If you're looking for ideas to help articulate the services you provide and your value, you may want to consider 2 resources from NAR. 179 ways agents are worth every penny of their compensation. Number 2, a second edition is 105 more ways with more emphasis on the buy side of the transaction. If you would like a copy of these, you can scan the QR code on here and get a copy of that.
It'll take you directly to the NAR website with these PDFs, but we can also send you a copy after this presentation as well.
We can send the slides as well.
So another way you can help your sellers is by providing some pre-listing support. And if you need guidance for sellers on the maximum contributions based on the loan type, we're more than happy to help. This might be helpful in consulting your sellers regarding the concessions for buyers. And just an update, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they just released statements that they're no longer going to, or they never actually considered seller concessions for buyer's agent compensation as an interested party contribution anyway, but they did release a statement, both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and FHA, that it will not be counting towards the interested party contributions or the max seller concessions from a seller, because they've always considered that to be a customary fee paid for by the seller. We have not heard from the VA yet. VA does not typically allow a seller credit to cover the buyer's agent compensation. Typically, a VA loan does not allow the buyer to pay for that. But of course, you know, as the Department of Justice makes their decision, I'm sure VA will then issue a statement on whether they're going to be changing any guidelines or if it's necessary to do so.
Does anyone use a buyer needs profile? Here's an example of a simple one. This could be an online form, a Google form, or printout for in person. This is a good starting point that should lead to the next step, which would be your buyer consultation. Here's a good way to transition from the buyer profile to your buyer consultation. Here's a sample script to move buyers forward in your process. Okay, I feel like I have a really good understanding of exactly what you're looking for in your home. What I'd like to do now is walk you through the process and answer any questions you may have so you feel confident about buying a home. Does that sound good to you? I'm not sure this is for you, but would you be open to a deeper dive into optimizing our buyer process? So we have these buyer needs profiles that we can send over to you guys that you can use on your buyer consultations as well.
And here's just a few ways that we can help our agent partners navigate the NAR changes. We can show the buyers the impact to their financial situation when certain situations arise. So we put together these presentations pretty regularly through Mortgage Coach, where we can just show them the difference in, here's a $500,000 listing price and no commission is being offered. What if you were to offer $10,000 more? Here's the difference in your payment. It's $56 versus them having to come up out of pocket with the $10,000 closing cost. And then we can go over other options with them too about the appraisal gap and how to bridge the value gap and still win the home. Of course, we're going to be looking at comps for the area to see if an appraisal gap will even, you know, be an issue. And that's usually something that you guys will already know ahead of time just based on comps for the area.
So let's just recap what we covered. So we covered the NAR settlement overview, adapting to the new rules, the buyer agency and your value, from confused to confidence, and also leveraging us as your lender.
In closing, remember that the value you give demonstrates the value that you get. I hope this was valuable for you, and I look forward to continuing this interaction following this class. We can send you any of these items that you need. If you have a very specific profile, like with that Mortgage Coach presentation, feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to put together a more buyer specific or seller specific scenario for you. Even in your listing presentations, if you were to just show your seller the difference in offering that compensation and how much more they can get for that, we can show them the difference in payment for the client.
And then, like, in conclusion, I mean, basically we, you know, right now, Fannie, Freddie, VA, FHA, they have not said that we can finance, you know, the commissions in the loan. So I know that's a big question, but as of right now, if it's a concession, they are not going to, you know, count that in the interested party concessions. That, like, if you put 5% down, you're only allowed 3% from the seller. If you put 10% or more, you're allowed 6%. So they're not going to include that in that 3 or 6% currently. But, you know, as we get closer to, you know, July, I'm sure there's going to be more information out on that.
Let's open this up to some questions.
Questions we got, guys? Fill in the chat box, unmute yourself. Gloria, do you have a question? I thought I saw you on mute. Any questions, guys, for Leslie and Fatima?
We have fabulous lenders on the phone. They can answer all kinds of questions.
Even if it's not about the NAR settlement, if you guys have a lending related question, you've got two really competent lenders over here. Happy to.
Miriam, I'll make sure that they get the list of participants today, and then they will send out the PowerPoint.
Yeah, we can send out the slides and then also send out those forms as well for the buyer consultation.
Perfect. Any questions? How can they get a hold of you?
Okay. We'll send over, my number is 949-933-7055. And email address is Leslie, Leslie .O'Neal, O'Neal @movement.com. And then Sabina.
We've got a question. Will the loan industry be helping buyers with rebates or anything like that? Until the Department of Justice makes a decision, I think the general consensus is that, people are going to be asking for the buyer's agent commission if the seller is not offering anything to be paid for in the form of a seller's concession. I think that's the common consensus that most people have. As far as grants and loan programs, nobody's commented on any of that yet. If somebody's putting 20% down or 15% down, they typically, if it's a conventional loan, they can still typically just put less down and then pay that as a closing cost. I think it might be more of an issue for people who are just doing 3% or 3.5% down minimum down payments. But until the Department of Justice and NAR makes an official decision on anything, I think loan programs and financing credits and things like that are just not really being discussed right now.
Cool deal. Any other questions, guys? Awesome. Well, I appreciate everyone jumping on the call today. I appreciate our guest speakers, Sabina and Leslie as well. Somebody said, do we have an official date? We don't. We're thinking mid-July.
Mid-July.
That's what they're saying, mid-July. So there's obviously a lot that's logistically that's going to be involved in this, right? Every MLS is going to have to remove that fill. We're talking engineer, all these designer stuff going in and switching that up, in addition to all the forms. Now, you know how many lawyers are involved with all those forms. So there's just a lot of movement happening, but they did say mid-July, we should see changes. Cool deal, guys. Thank you, Sabina. Thank you, Leslie, for joining. Kimberly, always great seeing you. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the agents joining, and we will see you in the next training and in escrow very, very soon.
Thank you for
so
having
much.
us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Justin. You're amazing.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.